Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to talk about fall book recommendations. So I'm so excited to be making this video. My girl Miriam just recently made a fall book recommendations video, and if you haven't seen it, I will link it below because it was amazing. Gave me some great ideas as well for books to read this fall. Some books I have read on that list and totally agree. Great video. Please go check it out. It's definitely inspired me to finally make this video because I've had a list, I've had my graphic ready, but I ain't posted it yet, and I'm like, I need to film this video, so here we are. All right, now first of all, you can't have fall without cozy mysteries. We all know that any kind of cozy mystery, honestly, you could read in the fall and it hits the vibe. So if you haven't seen my cozy mystery book recommendations video, I will leave that on the screen, in the cards, all the stuff. There's a lot of good book recs in that video that probably are autumnal, fall vibes, everything, but I picked two, and that is Apple Cider Slang and Salted Caramel. I talked about both of these in that video anyway, but I'm kind of go into in depth about what these are necessarily. I feel like a lot of these I've already talked about over the years, but the best thing I can say is this one is Granny's Nemesis fell into apple press. She dead. There's an apple cider farm or something like that. Smith Orchard, that's it. And so great characters, family aspect, loved it. Perfect for like this fall season going into winter, Christmas, all that stuff, because I mean, this would be a great Christmas read too, because you see the cat with the Christmas tree. Yeah, you already know. So just a really great fall read. Perfect for the vibes. All right. Then we have Salted Caramel by Amanda Flower. And did I say the author? I don't think I did. Julianne Lindsey wrote Apple Cider Slang. And then Amanda Flower for Salted Caramel. And these are both first in series here. I read the first one. I want to continue on. I really like the characters. Just a really great time. Very family oriented. Had a little bit of faith in there as well for the Amish grandparents. And, you know, we just see this character grow and realize the importance of family. Someone ended up dead in her, I think it was her grandfather's candy shop. Yep. And so they have to kind of clear the name, all that stuff. You know, the typical cozy mystery style. It's like this, but it just has like a unique spin on it because of the family element, a little bit of faith content that you normally don't see in a cozy mystery. Definitely one of my favorite cozy mysteries of all time. Next on the list, we have Jaime Jo Wright. You can't have a fall book recommendations without a Jaime Jo Wright, right? You see what I did? Okay, anyway, yeah, The Vanishing Castle Moreau, and I think Echoes Among the Stones. Those are the only two I've read that I really enjoyed, and I've got to read more of her. Definitely more of her books are on my list for this year, and her new release comes out in October. Really excited about it. Going to be reading it. But The Vanishing Castle Moreau has like this gothic, eerie vibe. It's perfect for fall. We have a dual timeline, and you know, there's like this search of what is the secret of this castle for both dual timelines, and it's wonderful. So it's not even that scary. I have a very like low tolerance to being spooked, okay? So this one really did not have, like, I wouldn't say it's scary. I'd say things are unsettling. So if it's one that you're worried, is it gonna be too creepy? I think this will be fine. You kind of have that shadows in the dark thing, but nothing too scary for me personally. But just everyone's different, kind of go in with a grain of salt. Every time you read one of her books, go in with a grain of salt, not knowing 100% how you're gonna feel, and just feel like, to me, I always feel like, okay, if it's too much, I can easily DNF it and not feel bad about it because everybody has their own personal tolerance of that. But this one was great. I love the ending. I actually cried in the end. It was a perfect ending. Her endings are wonderful. Faith at the end of this was perfect. I loved what she did with this one. It's probably my favorite. I've only read two, but it's my favorite out of this. Like, I think Echoes Among the Stones is more like that 4-star level. This one was 5-star. I think I gave it 5-star at the time, but looking back, it's more like a 4-star. And it's not creepy at all either. And this one was definitely like a 5. I loved it so much. Truly, truly recommend it. We've got 2 books by Pepper Basham. You know I love Pepper Basham's books. We got Laurel's Dream, which is book 1, and then Heart of the Mountains, book 2. I have seen, my graphic just has Heart of the Mountains on it, but I wanted to mention Laurel's Dream in the video. I know that some people have read Heart of the Mountains like by itself and said you can read it as a standalone, but I think you get the best experience reading them both, you know, back to back. These books are both set in the Blue Ridge Mountains, early 1900s, and they have just a really beautiful romance and family aspects and lots of family drama in a way. And book 3 is going to come out soon. It's one of the sister stories, Kizzy's story. I can't wait to read it. And you know, it has this great family aspect, and I love the Blue Ridge Mountains. I love the area. It's like, it reminds me of like, just reminds me of home from East Tennessee. So I highly recommend both of these. I'm not going to get too in depth about like what everything's about, but you know, in this one, in Laurel's Dream, we have Jonathan Taylor and Laurel McAdams. And then in this one, we have Cora Taylor, which is Jonathan's sister, and Jeb McAdams, which is Laurel's brother. And so it's a really good time. You still see the characters throughout both stories, and it's just wonderful. Great Christian historical romance, clean, faith content, beautiful. And the reason I think they're fall atmosphere, I mean, the vibes on the cover are going to tell you alone, but like just something about the atmosphere and the story itself and the characters. It's hard to tell, like, when are these set? I cannot tell you when they're set. Are they set in the fall? They may not be, but they just feel like a fall read to me. You know what I'm saying? So take that with a grain of salt too. Then of course we got When the Day Comes with Gabrielle Meyer. You know my favorite book of all time at this point. Then of course we got When the Day Comes with Gabrielle Meyer. Do I need to say anything? Just read it. Like, I don't know what else I can say, but this is a time travel clean. It does have a trigger warning for sexual assault, marital sexual assault, but it's off page. But again, it's just such a great story. I cried. I sobbed. Page 349, that's all you need to know. I sobbed. So, yeah, my friends read it. They sobbed at the same point that I sobbed. The perfect time travel story that just meant a lot to me and helped me realize I didn't need Outlander no more. And I've talked a lot about it. Read it if you haven't. I know a lot of y'all have said you're going to be reading it. Again, I loved it so much. Libby is waking up every day in a different time. So one day she's in 1774 Colonial Williamsburg, and the next day she's in 1914 New York City. And by the time she turns 21, she has to decide where she's going to stay. And that's all you need to know. It's a great story. Beautiful. Pick it up. Book 2 is great too. All right. And I don't know why I feel like that's a good fall read, but just read it. So anyway, then we've got Julie Klassen. I think that a lot of her books are going to have that great fall vibe. I think that you could read A Castaway in Cornwall as well in the fall. And The Shadowless Swamp for Abby, I've not read it, but it doesn't like exude all things fall to you. And just looking at the cover, I mean, I'm just saying. Painter's Daughter, I think any of her books would be great in the fall, honestly. But I've decided to pick The Bridge to Belle Island because I've not talked about it in a little bit. It definitely was one I really enjoyed. I think I give it 3.5 to 4 stars. I wanted a little bit more romance in this story, but it's great. Like, just got a perfect mystery Regency romance. Looking at the back of this because I can't remember exactly everything, but Benjamin Booker, he resolves to never trust a beautiful woman. When an old friend is killed, the senior partner is not satisfied with Bow Street's efforts, and he asks Benjamin to investigate. Evidence takes him to this remote island, and soon finds himself falling for the main suspect, this woman, and she has not left the island in 10 years. There's your story. And that's all you need to know. I mean, go in. This is just very, very good. She knows how to tell you a story. Sometimes you feel like they're a bit long, but like once you kind of get there, it's satisfying. The ending, I love it. That's just such a great mystery element. I think if you're a fan of Agatha Christie, you will enjoy this. Rocky Mountain Rendezvous by Misty M. Beller. I think this was perfect. Just the setting alone is the reason I'm calling it a fall read. But this is set in 1837, and we had Juniper Collins and her sisters, and father has passed away, and they're kind of on this journey to find this pagan Blackfoot woman who had saved their father's life in the past during his travels. And together these sisters kind of set out for this trapper rendezvous, and they end up meeting this guy. One of the girls, Juniper, meets this guy. Okay, what was his name? Riley Turner. The little romance kind of starts, and you know, there's just a lot of twists and turns, and things start happening while the sisters are on their travels, and it's just a really good story. I really like the family aspect here with the sisters. Can't wait to read book 2 because it follows Laurel. I really liked her as a character. She's great. Just if you like a good historical romance, this is cute. Okay, for some parts a little bit unrealistic, but I still really liked it, so I give it 4 stars. So I will leave my reviews, by the way, for all of these books down below so you can actually read more of my in-depth thoughts. How about that? Because I know I'm going really quick here. So, My Stubborn Heart by Becky Wade. You already know. This book right here took me through it. Cried. Me and Amy Buddy read it. It was perfect. Obviously, look at the fall leaves. You know, this is the fall read, honey. It's just, there's just something about these characters that is so real and raw. You know, they're going through some really hard things. Kate, she is kind of burnt out on work and ends up going to help her grandmother in Pennsylvania to restore this old house that they've grown up in. And this former hockey star named Matt, he has spent so many years hiding from people and hiding from God and all this heartbreak that he's had in his past. And he has signed up for this construction job with her grandmother they end up meeting. The rest is history. It's a beautiful story. Highly recommend. Beautiful Christian romance with some just layered development. The faith in this, beautiful, truly beautiful. And then I have Autumn by the Sea by Melissa Tagg. I really enjoyed this. I can't remember the fall vibes, honestly, as 100%. I really cannot remember right off. But I still think it's a great fall read. I give it 4 stars. The ending was not exactly as I wanted, but I still really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to read book 2. This is about a girl named Sydney who was abandoned as a toddler, and so she spent years trying to figure out who she is, and an investigator pretty much takes everything by storm in her life. They pulls her away, takes her to this little seaside town in Maine to meet this older woman who's looking for her granddaughter. They think, could Sydney be the woman's missing granddaughter? All this stuff. Well, when she gets there, she ends up meeting Neil McKean, and he was like a Scottish man. Hey, you already know. But he didn't necessarily feel very Scottish to me here 100%, but I still really liked his character. He is pretty much in this family as an adoptee, we'll say. He's helping run the blueberry farm. And they meet. You know, the family kind of questions her motives because they've kind of been burned before, and a lot of people so far that the private investigator has thought was the granddaughter and wasn't. So we're just really seeing like this development over time of them learning and getting to know each other, learning to trust her. And it's a really great family story with a beautiful romance included. I've heard book 2 is even better. Cannot wait to read it. I just got book 3 in the mail. A lot about this I really enjoyed, and I cannot wait to read the next book. 3 other books I do not own. The one is, of course, Edge of Dusk, and that's going to be the whole Annie Peterson trilogy that I just finished reading this year. I loved it. It's really like a 4.5-star series for me. It was so close to being a 5-star series, but overall it's just so much fun. It's one of the best romantic suspense trilogies I have ever read. It keeps you on your toes. It's fast paced. You know, there's all this family drama going on. If that's up your alley, read it. There's not a lot of faith content, but it's still, there's a little bit sprinkled throughout, but it's more so of like this family drama story. And just I mean, all this stuff going on, you're like, what? I need to know the tea, you know, that kind of stuff, that kind of feeling, like what is happening. And it just had these really great characters. I loved Annie and John, the main characters, and Annie's daughter, just all that stuff going on there. There was so much going on in the story. Highly recommend it, and it's a perfect read for fall. The next book I want to talk about is The Bookshop of Secrets by Mollie Rushmeyer, and I've not talked about this book in a while. I read it, I think, was it last year? This was Mollie's debut story, and it's all about finding lost secrets, starting over, and finding this restoration in the Lord, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I really appreciated the story more than anything. The main character in this is Hope Sparrow, and she's been running from her past for so many years, and she goes to Vanishing Falls to search for her family's history, and she ends up in this small town bookshop. So again, bookshop, we love a good bookshop in a story, right? And the story, the bookshop's name was Dusty Jackets, and I was like, I love that name for a bookshop. But she was looking for these books that hold her last ties to her late mother and this rumored family treasure. And so the bookshop is very old and run down, and the elderly owner has the beginning stages of dementia, so that's a trigger warning there. Books that she's looking for, they're missing whenever she gets there. So but in her search, she meets this guy named Ronan. He's very sweet, and he has just such a great kindness about him, and he respected others that I loved. And they just start to work together to try to uncover the secret of all of this. Now, this was very emotional. There were some hard topics such as human trafficking, dementia, PTSD, and panic attacks. There are not full details described in the human trafficking, but I want to mention that. So yeah, I think it's a great story. Beautiful faith content, all that good stuff. Highly recommend this. An author that I want to mention is Abigail Wilson. I've read a couple of her books, and they don't normally have faith content in them, but they are clean Regency reads, and I really enjoy them whenever I do read them. And the one I want to recommend is Within These Gilded Halls. I gave it 4 stars. I think if you like a good mystery Regency story, you're going to enjoy this. I just had a fun time reading about it. It had this character named Phoebe, and she was renovating this beautiful ballroom, and there was for this art teacher, and the art teacher ends up being murdered. With her last breath, she provides like this clue to something that's very crazy happening in this hall that they're in. And so she has all these questions. Who murdered this woman? Is there a rumored treasure within the halls? And who can we trust? You know, and then there's a charming nephew, and so named Graham. Her and Phoebe kind of work together to figure everything out. It was just a really great time, and I really like the historical aspects. I just think that Abigail Wilson tells a good story regardless. I wish she did have faith in her books, but again, they are really great, clean Regency romance stories. They usually have mystery. I've read The Vanishing at Loxby Manor before. I enjoyed it at the time. It was probably one of the first clean Christian reads, we'll call it, that I ever read. So, you know, I don't know how I'd feel now if I read it, but it probably would be more like a 4-star. I think I gave it 5 stars at the beginning when I first read it because I was just like loving all the clean reads at the time. You know how that goes. But the more you read, the harder it is to get to like a 5-star, right? But I still really enjoyed her books. I think they're great. Highly recommend this author. And they always feel very autumnal or like wintry. I don't know. They feel like a good fall read. I mean, yeah. So again, it's hard to tell like what is a real fall read, but these are just some of my favorites. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know some of your favorite fall reads. I still need to do my fall TBR video, but I hope that you found something in here that you have been either wanting to read or that you are interested in reading. Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you all at my next video. Bye, y'all.